Happy Tuesday, everyone, and welcome to sports. I don't know about you, but running isn't always the first thing on my mind when I wake up. If anything, it almost feels like a chore to get outside and go run sometimes. But for one retired police commander in Atascadero, he has turned running into his hobby and something he does every single day. Meet Joe Allen.
So I Googled how far it was to get from Atascadero to Portland, Maine. I would have run to Portland, Maine.
2,758.6 miles in 365 days.
Over the entire year, from May 29th to May 29th a couple days ago, I ended up averaging 7.5 miles per day.
Joe Allen is a retired police commander in Atascadero who dedicated this past year to running a 10K a day.
It's been kind of my thing. It's like I didn't want to miss a day. It's been a few. My wife can attest that I was so close. It's like, and Mr. Pierce too, he goes, how are you feeling today? I don't know if I'm going to make my 6.2, but I'm gonna.
If you think about this, 6.2 miles, 365 days in a row without stopping, that's quite a feat.
Allen believes discipline is the biggest key to his commitment to running every day.
With my discipline, I ran in the snow. I was in Scottsdale for spring training, and I ran in a hailstorm. I've been in the rain, obviously in the hot sun. Didn't matter what we were doing, when we were doing it. It's something I had to do.
And while his goal was to run for 365 days, it's now become something that he's continuing to do even after this past year. It's also become a tradition for Dick Pierce and his wife Wendy to wave from their balcony at Joe running around the lake, cheering for him every step of the way.
I stop him to make him rest a minute or two.
Dick Pierce and his wife Wendy up there on their balcony across the street over here, and they're, cheering me on.
No, we just talk about how's he going, if he feels okay, does he need anything?
While these last 15 months have been very difficult for many, Joe Allen is a prime example of someone who made the most of his time during the uncertainty that we were living in.
If I did it for anything, it was to help inspire other people that, guess what, if you have the time, like I do right now because I'm retired, get out there and hit the road, whether it be walking, biking, hiking, just go out there and get some exercise because sitting at home ain't gonna work.
It's crazy. Joe is already on his 5th pair of shoes. He's now looking for his next pair for running. And let me tell you, after hanging out with Joe, it motivated me to get out and run every day. Okay, I haven't started yet, but maybe I'll start tomorrow. We'll see. Well, moving on to some NBA news. According to multiple reports out tonight, Denver Nuggets Nikola Jokic has won the NBA's 2020-2021 MVP award. Jokic averaged 26 points, 10 rebounds, and 8 assists this season, and leading the Nuggets to the playoffs. He is just the 6th international player and first player ever drafted in the second round to win the NBA's top award. The Denver big man is also the first center to win the MVP award since Shaquille O'Neal back in 2000. This was initially reported by both the Denver Post and The Athletic. Richard, that's all I have for sports. I'll send it back to you.
All right, Casey, thank you. Got me motivated to run too, but not yet. Maybe tomorrow. So, thank you. Still ahead in our next half hour, skyscrapers and office parks are sitting empty across the country. How some companies are already making the big decision to go small when it comes to office space. Plus, how a new unit at Marion Regional Medical Center could save you time at the emergency room.
BY6.
A follow-up now. A California mother is behind bars in connection with the murder of her son. 35-year-old Samantha Moreno Rodriguez was taken into custody today in Denver. Yesterday, a warrant went out for her arrest after the body of her son, 7-year-old Liam Houston, was found by hikers last month near Las Vegas. Houston and his mother apparently left San Jose in late May and were last seen at Laguna Beach. The vehicle they were in was spotted near Grand Junction, Colorado. Police say the woman later checked into a hotel room by herself in the Denver area. Rodriguez is booked in a Denver area jail for 1 count of open murder. In developing news, a bipartisan report on the January 6th insurrection reveals today that the Capitol Police Intelligence Division knew for weeks that the Trump supporters were planning to attack the Capitol. Alice Barr tells us how the report outlines a series of security lapses but does not study the former president's role in encouraging the mob.
Profound intelligence and security failures. That's what a new bipartisan Senate report blames for allowing the deadly January 6th Capitol siege to get so out of control.
This was like the Super Bowl of domestic terrorism, and there should have been planning ahead.
The report is the most comprehensive yet, detailing how federal intelligence agencies failed to properly warn law enforcement before the attack. A bipartisan team of senators found the Capitol Police Intelligence Division did learn weeks in advance that supporters of former President Trump were discussing how to infiltrate the complex through tunnels and target members of Congress, but failed to pass it up the chain of command to act on the threat.
It was just amazing that intelligence did not get in the right hands here.
One rank-and-file officer is quoted in the report saying, "We were ill-prepared. We were not informed with intelligence. We were betrayed." Officer Brian Sicknick died after trying to fight off the violent mob. To prevent a similar disaster, the senators recommend empowering Capitol Police to directly request National Guard support, improving police training and equipment, and streamlining intelligence. The report did not examine former President Trump's role in motivating the rioters, which one officer who spoke to NBC News in his personal capacity said was clear.
They can continue to say, we are here because our President Trump sent us here, and we won't listen to nobody else but him.
Democratic lawmakers argue the Senate report only strengthens the case for a sweeping 9/11-style commission that Republicans previously blocked. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi told colleagues today that if the Senate does not approve a bipartisan January 6th commission, Democrats should be prepared to pursue investigations on their own. Major websites and apps are back up after going dark today. The problem appears to be related to an outage at Fastly, a cloud service provider. It supports sites like CNN, The Guardian, The New York Times, Twitch, Pinterest, HBO Max, Reddit, Spotify, and others. Fastly says it has identified the problem and fixed the issue. The outage affected dozens of countries across the Americas, Europe, and Asia, as well as South Africa. Authorities say they have delivered a huge blow to international organized crime. The FBI teamed up with Australian authorities to develop an encrypted electronic device company called Anim. Its users, law enforcement targets who believed the devices were secure.
Authorities say they have delivered a huge blow to international organized crime.
The success of Operation Trojan Shield is a result of tremendous innovation, dedication, and unprecedented international collaboration.
The FBI teamed up with Australian authorities to develop an encrypted electronic device company called Anim. Its users, law enforcement targets, believed the devices were secure, but the FBI was watching. More than 27 million messages obtained over 18 months.
They revealed unprecedented insights into how organised crime works to move drugs, money, guns, and to organise murders.
The result of those insights, more than 800 arrests around the world, tons of cocaine seized, as well as millions of dollars in cash. Investigators also believe lives were saved.
We could arrest many of those who instigate murders, and for the first time in many years, we have seen a decrease in shootings and explosions in Sweden.
Authorities say this operation will have long-term implications for international criminal organizations.
This will lead all of our criminals guessing of what company out there is actually a true secure company and which is run by potentially the government.
Authorities using high tech to crack down on organized crime. Dan Sheneman, KSBY News.
Ahead on KSBY News at 6, the president of Colonial Pipeline testifies on Capitol Hill after a cyber attack on the company's pipeline that led to widespread gasoline shortages. And the new local program that is helping students get back on track if distance learning set them back during the pandemic.
Here's.org.
In tonight's rebound, as skyscrapers and office parks are sitting empty across the country, about 20% of commercial office space is vacant because of the pandemic. As Chris Conti shows us, some companies are already making the big decision to go small when it comes to the office.
For many months, companies across the country have been trying to figure out if that physical footprint is really worth it anymore.
The shift has been dramatic.
For Connie Nelson at Lifeway Christian Resources in Nashville, Tennessee, hypotheticals are now reality.
I think lots of companies are having this conversation.
It was 2018 when this company, known for printing Bibles, said goodbye to their old headquarters and moved into this brand new custom-made tower.
When we built this building, this was the terrace. People would relax out here.
A space that now sits empty most days. Even pre-pandemic, occupancy rates were around 60%.
More and more people were working remotely.
With most of the company working remotely, Lifeway decided to make a difficult decision. 2 weeks ago, they sold their nearly new company headquarters for an estimated $95 million. They'd only been here for about 3 years.
Is it worth having a building of this size when you're not fully utilizing it? It's a great building. We love it. But does that make sense?
Businesses of all sizes are trying to figure out what's next and decide what makes the most financial sense in this new environment.
Do we really need all of this space?
And commercial real estate experts say it's still too soon to predict any long-term impacts from all of this, as many large companies and businesses are locked into 4 or 5 year leases on buildings, which prevent them from making any big moves right now.
The pandemic essentially accelerated what may have taken 10 or 20 years into a single year process.
That is Lawrence Yoon. He's the chief economist at the National Association of Realtors. Nationwide vacancy rates at commercial office buildings are sitting around 20%. Companies who are re-signing leases are signing 2 or 3 year agreements instead of 7 or 10 year terms.
Companies will hire more people, but it's unclear whether or not they will have dedicated office space.
Some parts of the commercial real estate market are booming, though. Warehouse space is hard to come by, as many companies are having to expand shipping facilities to handle a surge in e-commerce. But
it's unclear as to how much of a demand, fresh demand, new demand for office space will be.
At Lifeway, they'll relocate in the next 2 years. The plan is to have drop-in offices for when employees want to be in the building.
In today's environment, how can we still have a nice place for people to come, but still have the right sizing of space that we need?
As the future of work starts to become a reality. In Nashville, I'm Chris Conti.
Be interesting to see what happens with that.
It's evolving, all kinds of businesses. I mean, we're not still back to what we would consider normal here at KSBY yet. So.
No, I'm my office is on the other side of the building.
Yeah, I know. I'm just happy I get to see you.
Exactly.
It's good to see you.
How about weather-wise? That's sort of changing over time too, isn't it?
Yeah, let's check out the outdoor office at the Morrow Strand. How about that?
Look at that?
Yeah, you can see a little bit of haze in there, so the winds did mix out the clouds, but they'll be back in some form tomorrow. But the forecast has been really mild, but I see some changes. I'll talk about those coming up.
Right off the 101.
In a follow-up, we now know the FBI has recovered a majority of the more than $4 million ransom paid to Russian hackers by officials running the Colonial Pipeline. Today, the CEO of Colonial testified on Capitol Hill about why he made the payment. Jay Gray has the story.
The cyber attack on the Colonial Pipeline left the company and the country in a panic. Drivers lining up as the gas supply in many areas started to run short.
We are deeply sorry for the impact that this attack had.
Today, the CEO of Colonial testifying before the Senate Homeland Security and Government Affairs Committee about the company's decision to pay Russian hackers a ransom, something discouraged by U.S. officials.
It was the hardest decision I've made in my 39 years in the energy industry, and I know how critical our pipeline is to the country, and I put the interests of the country first.
The pipeline is just one of a growing list of major operations that have been victims of ransomware attacks, many tied to the nation's critical infrastructure. The crime's so prolific, cybersecurity experts say the question now isn't if,